السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. انتجبه لولايته واختصه برسالته وأكرمه بالنبوة أمينا على غيبه ورحمة للعالمين، وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. أوصيكم عباد الله بتقوى الله. This week, our attention has been on two tragedies. One is natural and the other is man-made. As far as the natural tragedy is concerned, that's the earthquake and the tsunami which occurred on last Friday in Japan, which interestingly is one of the most advanced industrial countries of the world. And of course, we pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may He help the people of Japan in their rescue and rebuilding attempts. And may He also give them some guidance to understand His power and His glory. However, the focus of my khutbah today is the man-made tragedy which is unfolding now in Bahrain, where the way the issues are, we have a religious duty to express our solidarity with the people of Bahrain in general and the Shia community in that island in particular. You know, when you look at this whole issue, the issue is, what are they asking for? Other than some of the remarks coming from those who are on the ground in the state of anger, you keep them on the side. But if you look at the leadership, their basic demands are very simple. Basically they are talking about a representative government that respects the people, honors the basic rights of the people, and does not discriminate against the Shias in employment, in political structure, and in the distribution of the resources of the country. These are the area, although they are in majority, but they are being deprived. There is discrimination against them because of their faith and because of their madhab. Now, this pro-democracy movement in Bahrain is not a new thing. This has been going on from late 70s, 80s, 90s, and especially when you look at the situation in the last 10 or 15 years. Their demand for their basic rights has increased and they become more vocal. And when you look at the past history, the government sometimes moves one step forward and then after that it goes two steps back. The current situation that we see is basically and very obviously inspired by the events in Tunis and Egypt, where the Shias of Bahrain have been inspired. They're already going through this situation, and this was a moment they said, okay, this is where the momentum is there in the Middle East, and they have increased their demands, expression of that. And the most important thing is that they are protesting for their rights in a very peaceful manner. There has been not a single report that these people protesting in Bahrain have come with their weapons, or they are, looting the buildings and the government property, or destroying the government property. There's nothing like that. They have been totally peaceful. Unlike the situation in Libya, at least, the people who are against Gaddafi, they are able to take over, army barracks, they have weapons, they are trying to, fight back. against the attempts of pro-Libya Gaddafi forces. But unfortunately, we see that the government of Bahrain has very shamefully responded in a very wrong way. We are told, we don't know how much truth is in there, that even within the ruling family there is a split. There are some who would like to move towards reform, but there are others who are saying, no, we don't want to give in any way. Unfortunately, the hardliners among them seem to have prevailed at the moment. With this pressure coming from Saudi Arabia, which has its own Shia minority and the problems with them, things have become even more difficult. The fact that the Bahraini government has invited Saudi and Emirati military personnel into their island, this is very clear that they do not want to sit down and negotiate with the people in good faith. These people are not violent. They have not shown, there is no indication at all from any side that they have, come with weapons or they are destroying property or anything. And not only that, even the UN Human Rights Chief, in her declaration, she describes the actions of the security forces in Bahrain as shocking and illegal conduct. She goes on to say that the reports of a military takeover of hospitals was a blatant violation of international law. These people, the rulers in the Gulf states, should remember that even the UN, in its report of 2002 or 2003, when they talked about the development project that they have in the Middle East, they said, you don't need to look at the West to reform yourself, and look at the West as a role model. They said, look at your own history. And they gave, some sections from the letter that Amir al-Mu'minin had written to Malik Ashtar. UN now is teaching the Muslims in the Middle East that look at the example of Ali. Look at the example of what he wrote to Malik Ashtar about how to have a civilized government, a governance based on justice and peace and tranquility. In that document, Amir al-Mu'minin has one statement which I think is really, it's live. It's not just a statement about people who lived 1300 years ago. This sentence is there even for present time, where he says that I have heard from the Prophet of Islam in more than one place where he says, لن تقدس أمة لا يؤخذ للضعيف فيها حقه من القوي. He says, no ummah, no nation or community can ever be considered to be sacred. They can never gain sanctity and honor until the weak one among them gets his right from the strong one without any fear. This is what is happening there. You have Zalim on one side, Mazloom on the other side. The Mazloom is asking for his own right. He's not even being, violent, just protesting peacefully. And what is the Zalim doing there? This is where we realize that what Amir al-Mu'minin said at that time, it is relevant even to us now, although 14 centuries have passed between the time he uttered these words and what we see in the Middle East at the moment. Salawat. إن أحسن الحديث كتاب الله العزيز بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء تفرد بالأولية والقدم وبصم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم ونشهد أن محمدا نبيه وحبيبه سيد المرسلين والشفيع المذنبين بعثه رحمة للعالمين صلى الله عليه وآله الداعين إلى سبيل الله بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة قادة الأمم وأولياء النعمة ومعدن الرحمة أوصيكم عباد الله بتقوى الله. Bahrain situation for us again, and I talk about this theme again and again. But what can we do? We live in that era of hypocrisy. And Bahrain's situation is again a prime example of the hypocrisy of what is known as the international community. The enthusiasm which was shown in supporting the popular protest in Tunis, Egypt, and Libya. This is in its own right place. But when it comes to Bahrain, the attitude is cool. Wait and see what is happening there. And more hypocritical are the rulers of the Gulf states. They have something known as Gulf Community Council, Cooperation Council, consisting of all the Arab states on the Gulf, from Kuwait all the way to Qatar. And on March 7th, the foreign ministers of these Arab countries in the Gulf region, under Gulf Cooperation Council, had their meeting, and they called for imposing a no-fly zone over Libya. The foreign minister of UAE, he made a statement at that time where he said, "We appeal to the international community, especially the Security Council, to meet its historical responsibility to protect this dear people of Libya." This is on 7th March. Just a week after that, what happens? You have UAE sending its troops, its soldiers to Bahrain. To do what? To crush the peaceful protest of the dear people of Bahrain. Your own member in that Gulf Cooperation Council. And this is hypocritical. You talk about what is happening in Libya, and you are asking UN to enforce no-fly zone so the people can be protected. When it comes to Bahrain, you are actually part of the zulm there. Saudi also same. Even Qatar today has sent its soldiers to Bahrain to crush the popular and peaceful, protest of the people there. And this is where, we look at this situation. Some of the scenes which are coming in internet, really they are very disturbing. If you look at this scene, especially the video of a completely unarmed civilian just raising his hand in protest, he's being shot. One fellow, where they targeted and killed, shot his head. You can see, and it's a very difficult scene even to visualize and look at it. And this is what is happening there. In this khutbah, in the second one, let me talk about is what should we do? We have certain obligations and responsibility as a Muslim community, as the followers of Ahlul Bayt in this part of the world. Number one, it is our duty to educate ourselves about this community in Bahrain. When we talk about the concept of wilayat, tawalla, it doesn't only mean to love the Ahlul Bayt. It also means to love those who love the Ahlul Bayt. Those who are being oppressed in Bahrain, they are the Shias of Ahlul Bayt. They are Isna Ashari Shias. They believe in Ali. They believe in the 12th Imam. And they have been oppressed because of their belief and their faith. So number one, our duty is to know more about them. What is going on? Number two, the issue of prayer. Keep them in your prayers these days in every namaz that you have after that. Especially if you can recite whenever you get the opportunity. These days are very crucial for them. Dua Joshan Saghir. And inshallah, we have the Sunday Fajr program, which is going to now start in this center. We are moving from Bayview to here. This Sunday's Fajr program, instead of having the normal Dua Sabah, we are going to replace it with another dua, which will be specially dedicated for the community in Bahrain. And the time of the namaz is 6:30, and then we'll have the dua after that. And of course, those who come, they will also get breakfast on that day. Number 3, to write even a short letter to the Bahraini embassy, basically condemning what is happening there. You can even write a similar letter to your local MP, so that the government in Canada also should know that people are not blind. They see the difference in the attitudes of how our community, our government reacts to situations, in Libya in one way, in Bahrain in a different way. And of course, you have to be very polite in the way you write it. And finally, there is actually a rally on Saturday at 1 p.m. On Dundas and Young Square there, in order to show support for the people of Bahrain as well as other countries in the Middle Eastern area. Fortunately, even our center here, according to the information given to me by the Mukhi just about an hour ago, a bus will be leaving this center at noon hour. It has seats for 50 people. It will be given based on first come, first served basis. And if you want to coordinate, you can coordinate with the Mukhi or the office of the Jamaat. I would like to point an issue here that, it's really encouraging to look at the new generation growing up in Canada, who have this sense of, realizing the link between us and our brethren in faith in different parts of the world. Yesterday I saw in the email 2 students from the York University who had come up with a very, very, very precise and complete write-up, 5 ways of supporting the community in Bahrain. And I actually have forwarded to some of my, brothers that I know who have extensive email lists so they can forward it. And there, they talk about different things that you can do. Especially, they even have a sample of what kind of a letter you should be writing to your MP. And if you are looking for the address, email address of your local MP, they even give you the link to the site where you can go and find that. And even the address of the international bodies where you can send your letter to the embassies. And so that is encouraging, and I think they will be encouraged more. I'm not in the habit of giving names, and therefore I'll not do that here. But I'm sure if we implement that also, that will be more encouragement that we as a community are a concerned community. We are not selfish. We do not only just look at our own situation. We look at the global ummah, and especially the world of the wilayat of Ahlul Bayt, alayhimu salatu wassalam. Salawat. Let us pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, Allah, we complain to you about the absence of your wali. Our wali is not with us. He is in the occultation by your command. O Allah, our enemies are many. Our own numbers are less. But the tribulations are becoming more severe, and the time has turned against us. So Allah, shower your blessings upon Muhammad and his family. Help us by a victory that will be sooner than later, by relieving our distress, by a help that will honor us as a community, and by a ruler whom you will make to appear, by the mercy which will engulf us, and a safety that will cover us all, with your mercy, Ya Arham Ar-Rahimeen. اللهم صل على سيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وعلى إمام المسلمين وقائد الغر المحجلين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله عليه وعلى سيدة نساء العالمين وبضعة خاتم النبيين سيدتنا فاطمة بنت رسول الله صلوات الله عليها وعلى سيد الشباب أهل الجنة الحسن المجتبى والحسين الشهيد بكربلاء عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على أئمة المسلمين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي عليهم الصلاة والسلام اللهم صل على مولانا الحجة بن الحسن صاحب العصر والزمان ماحي آثار البدء والطغيان هادم أبنية الشرك والنفاق حاسد فلول البغي والشقاق صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آبائه الكرام ما اتصلت الليالي والأيام اللهم عجل فرج وسهل مخرجه واكحل ناظرنا بنظرة منا إليه واجعلنا من المستشهدين بين يديه اللهم إنا نشكو إليك في فقد نبينا صلواتك عليه وآله وغيبة ولينا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا وتظاهر الزمان علينا فصل على محمد وآله وعنا على ذلك بفتح منك تعجل وبضر تكشف ونصر تعز وسلطان حق تظهر ورحمة منك تجللناها وعافية منك تلبسناها برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم اجعلنا ممن يذكر فتنفعه الذكرى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون